Hey Yagaho, we are back in Salt Lake for week 8 of the GBA after a 2-game stint in conference play away from home, and those games ended up pretty well, I guess. We're coming in on a 2-game winning streak, which is quite nice. Certainly the beneficiary of some late-game luck in both those games. That's why we were able to pull them out. We'll take the wins any way we can. Now sitting at 3-1 after we started out at 1-4, 3-1 in the conference, that is. So, also those games, if you watch the videos, you know that they both ended in disconnects, and we had to finish the games on Showdown. That is not something that I'm going to tolerate for very long. Definitely made me upset, and a huge sour taste in my mouth, despite, pulling out wins. Goodness, if we had lost, it would have been even worse, I guess. But anyway, so definitely this week, as well as preparing for the actual game, I did some investigations into my internet situation. First off, did some tests with the 2 connections I have, and just familiarizing myself with error messages, how you can kind of pinpoint whose internet is acting up. Of course, no one disconnects intentionally, but just to see who needs to do some looking in, I guess. Which in this case, it was me. And my 3DS had 2 connections saved, and based on how they interact with my actual laptop, one of them is a lot faster, but tends to disconnect at least once an hour, if not more. And the other one is slower, but pretty much never disconnects. So I just deleted the one that is faster, but more prone to disconnects. And so the only connection left is the slower one that is a lot more stable. And that is the one we use for this game, and that will be the one we use going forward. Hopefully we do not have any more disconnects. There was also a 3DS system update that I believe was like fairly major advance in the number that was supposed to help with the issue of Wi-Fi stability. So hopefully that helps out everyone, and hopefully we have good stuff going forward. No disconnect in this game. Very pleased to say that. Just going to be one clean game all the way through, as it should be. So, anyway, on to the matchup. So, we are playing Steve Magnitude, the creator of the league, and the Milwaukee Sawsbucks are coming to town. They're 4-3. They just knocked off the #1 team in the league in the form of the Pittsburgh Steelix, and we are 3-4. We're kind of on the upswing now. A chance to get back to even for the first time in the season. And, maybe even potentially get back into a positive differential if we get a big enough win. Certainly we're looking for a win any way we can. Steve's team is very good. Let's go ahead and take a look at the team. Alright, so probably not too surprising if you've been following the Sawsbucks. We got Greninja, Landorus, Therian, Cresselia, Cobalion, Klefki, and Victini. I say probably not that surprising because each one of these guys has been brought in at least 5 of the Sawsbucks 7 games, and some of them have been brought in all 7 of the games. With Virizion, Malamar, Jellicent, Ditto, and Mega Ampharos not getting too much playtime this week, or this season, can't necessarily say that I blame Mag for that, since those guys are not quite as good. Going with the strength of his team, 4 of these guys were drafted by him this year, and then probably his 2 best returnees. And even though he's been bringing, these guys most every week, he has been varying the sets really well, so you still can't quite predict exactly what they're going to do. But that's certainly something I picked up on and certainly factored into my team preparation. Of course, I'm not going to, completely ignore any of the other 5 things. That would be foolhardy. We are going to take those into account for sets and whatnot. But these are definitely the 6 I was prepared to face, thought he was going to bring, and indeed he did. So let's cut to my team, what I'm bringing. Zapdos, I'm going to let you guys be surprised by it this week. I'll just say it's offensive. Suicune, I think the same exact set we had last week against Nexus. I just kind of really liked it, and I felt like it would still be pretty alright. We're going to go with it again. Chansey is here to set up Stealth Rock. It's pretty much going to have to set up Stealth Rock. It's the only Stealth Rocker we have. It's going to probably be bringing that every game. And another big thing that I if you noticed, Steve has absolutely no spinner or defogger. If hazards go up, barring Ditto transforming into a rapid spinner, which I did bring, in case you wanted to play that mind game, any hazards that go up are going to stay up. So my thought is, if we can get some hazards up, we can probably get a sweep off. And as you can see down there, to go ahead and advance a little bit, we've got Cloyster, who is going to be running spikes as well as rapid spin. And yes, we are running Scarfed Cloyster again, Icicle Spirit, and Razor Shell. Thought about Rock Blast, but I decided no, that's going to get me walled by Cobalion, and I might need that Scarf to be able to hit him with a nice Razor Shell or something. So It's kind of weird, obviously, running Scarf with Spikes. I mean, I know in one game with Leafeon's Pelipper's, Kote started out with a Scarfed Crocodile with Stealth Rock. At least Spikes makes a little bit more sense since, you know, setting up multiple layers is beneficial. But, you know, he has no spinner whatsoever. Any hazards we get up are going to stay up, and that's going to be one of our primary goals for this game. Just using that Cloyster to set up Spikes, and of course we want to set up Stealth Rock because he's got a couple things that are in the air that are not going to be affected by Spikes. So I did decide to keep with T-Wave this week on Chansey. Thought about Toxic once again, but ultimately decided to stick with T-Wave. As we're not going to want to stay in on Landorus anyway to take knockoffs. Gallade, however, new set this week. You know, it's not that crazy a set though. Bulk up Gallade. You know, I said I would like to try to get a sweep off, but as you can see there, of course, he's got Klefki with Prankster Thunderwave, so there's no way we're going to be able to, you know, use Shell Smash or Belly Drum with Slurpuff like we did last week and get a sweep off. That's just not something I'm going to be even attempt to do. I know Klefki's going to stop that in its tracks, so instead Gallade is going to provide, instead of a speed sweep option, he's going to provide a tanky sweep option with bulk up and, of course, his good natural special defense. And we had a couple bulk ups up. We got Drain Punch going on, of course, and then knock off an Ice Punch. Foregoing Shadow Sneak, you know, usually that's a pretty alright move to put on Gallade. Usually do run it. Decided to forego it this week, though, at the expense of some better coverage on the expected team. So another thing that I decided I was going to need to really get this any kind of sweep or anything set up was going to be Gothitelle, because Cresselia is his only really bulky thing. You know, certainly he's got some bulk in some other areas, but Cresselia is his only real dedicated bulky thing. And we should be able to, it's only 10 points base faster than Gothitelle, should be able to trap it in there, of course. And, you know, Toxic taunts to make sure it can't Calm Mind and do more damage. And then Goth has good enough special bulk, it's just Cress is not going to be able to do anything to it. I also put Shadow Ball on there, which is mostly in case we wanted to trap and kill Klefki, you know, hit it neutrally and gradually lower that special defense. That's going to just about wrap it up, I think. Let's go ahead and get the game underway, see how we do. Alright, so I figured what better to lead off with than a Scarf guy, and also the guy who's going to set up the entry hazards that we're going to need for the duration of the game. So Cobalion comes out, and Victini is staring at me, turn 1, already being a huge threat. This thing can tear me apart in so many different ways. It could drop a Thunder right now and just kill me. So I would definitely like to get it out of the way sooner rather than later. Razor Shell is not really going to be a good option. Yes, it's going to be stab super effective, but Victini has that base 100 round bulk, probably with 2-hit KO, but I'm not going to be interested in that. If Cloyster does nothing else this game, I want at least one layer of spikes out of him. So that's what we're going to go for here, as he goes for V-Create, and thankfully we live it because of, you know, base 180 defense, get some spikes set up. And if you notice, some big information gained on this turn. He outsped me, which, you know, he's Scarfed Victini, so why wouldn't he? But I am also Scarfed, and so I expected to be faster, but I'm not. He expected to be faster, and he was. So now I know he's Scarfed, and he may not know that I know that he's Scarfed because I was Scarfed myself, and because I use spikes, he probably also does not know that I am Scarfed. So I've got... you know, I've lost a good chunk of my Cloyster, but I've gained quite a bit of information, and hopefully we can put that to our advantage later in the game. However, I do want to try to save Cloyster this time, so I'm going to switch out and go into Medi there, and the fact that I switched first, that's very easy to miss, but that could definitely telegraph that I'm Scarfed. But again, pretty easy to potentially miss right there. Don't know if he picked up on it right there or not, but he could have. Anyway, double switch, and this has not gone well at all. I switched in Chansey hoping it could live 2 V-Creates, which I don't think is actually that likely. And instead, here's Cobalion staring at me with some stab fighting. It's too early to let Chansey go. I could try a T-Wave, but I cannot T-Wave into a sub, which seems like a likely move he's going to go for. He has run Substitute Cobalion last week, and it's definitely on my radar. If I T-Wave into a sub and he sets up a Swords Dance, we could have a 6-0 Koba sweep, and that's not what's going to happen, fortunately, as you can see by the video length. And instead, we're going to go into Suicune to honestly just kind of hope for a Scald Burn. This close combat incoming, assuming that is what he goes for. Sacred Sword, we should be able to live 2 of, but if it's close combat, which it is, it's going to do exactly 120, or around about 120 points there. And that hurt way too much, and we did not get a Scald Burn, so this has not gone well at all. Yeah, so thinking about how we're going to deal with this thing, as it's got +2, base 108 guy, it's going to outspeed virtually everything on the team normally. And yeah, huge threat that we're facing down right here, so I'm going to spend some time, milk the clock, and run some calcs. In the end, this turn we're going to decide to go for Protect. Certainly gives him the option to Swords Dance again, but I didn't really think he would go for that. Also, in case he wanted to go for something else besides close combat to avoid lowering defenses. Something like, I don't know, maybe Stone Edge. I don't think Iron Head would kill from that range, so likely it wouldn't go for that. But yeah, what I should probably do here is Protect again. It would certainly have been very dangerous had he gone for a sub on that turn, but I don't think he would have. You know, I guess one argument for not double protecting here is he might want to try to sub on this turn, and then that would just be absolutely horrendous. So we're just going to click Scald and just kind of let Suicune go. You know, we'd be able to get up to 108 HP if we got the double protect with some additional lefties gain. Maybe if that was max and we get min, you know, I don't really think that's necessarily worth our time. So Suicune goes down, and now the only thing we have left that's really bulky is Chansey. So not exactly where I wanted to be. And you know, I kind of wanted to play a nice little information war where I can catch Victini after a V-Create, and I would actually be able to outspeed it with Cloyster that he might not be expecting. But I kind of have to blow that information secret if it is a secret right now. I don't have too many other options. He is at -2. I set up spikes with my Cloyster. You know, I'm hoping that that kind of overrides the noticing the double switch and makes him think it's not Scarfed, and he wants to maybe preserve it. I'm just going to click Razor Shell, and thankfully it hits. Thankfully he stays in, and Cobalion goes down, and that's a huge potential threat gone. That could have easily gone on a little mini sweep right there, and instead it is 5-5. So I hate to blow my little information gain there, but I think that was well worth it to stop something that was about to go on a sweep. So Victini comes in again to get some damage from spikes. We still need to get Stealth Rock up, so this thing's going to be losing 25% every time it comes in. And he now, of course, it's blatantly obvious that I'm Scarfed, but he is Scarfed as well, so he can take me out with probably move of choice. I'm going to assume V-Create, and I think I'm going to get into Gallade this time. Just certainly perusing my options. I got a couple seconds left, so we're going to look over everything and try to make the best decision possible, and ultimately I decide to sack off Gallade. I really hate to do that, but that's what we're going to end up deciding to do. It's just sacrifice him to a V-Create. So I'm switching out into Proto Man, and he goes for Bolt Strike, which is pretty surprising to me. I guess he just really did not want the defense drop, as Bolt Strike's less accurate, and I believe with Stab might actually be weaker, as it's 180 plus 50% is 270, whereas Bolt Strike is 130 times 2 is 260. And if you noticed, Gallade took that really well. He took under half, which is absolutely huge. All of a sudden, this is a big opportunity. I kind of switched him in to sack to a V-Create, and that's not the case at all. We're going to pull a bulk up here, and, you know, with the Drain Punch going on, I feel pretty alright with that, setting up some bulk ups. So Samp Hammer comes in, and I'm hoping it doesn't want to use Swagger. Swagger is legal in the GBA. We do not follow Smoggun's bans on stuff. Yeah, I think I'm going to pull another bulk up here. The nice thing is, with Foul Play, you know, I'm also raising my defense at the same time I'm raising my offense. So he does indeed T-Wave me, which between that, Toxic, and Burn, I would much rather be paralyzed. So I probably have the best status possible I can get on Gallade. As long as I can avoid full paras, we're going to be pretty much alright. So now we're at +2. I'm not going to get too greedy. We're just going to go ahead and click Drain Punch and hope that it does a decent amount. And he's going to Foul Play, which does some pretty decent damage still. We do get Para Hacks. We also get the Justified boost, since Foul Play is, of course, a dark type attack. But that's going to make this one do more. I kind of thought I might die, but nope, Proto Man does not die. Does a hefty chunk to that Klefki. And yeah, takes out about 80% of it and gets back up to livable hit points, actually. So nicely done, Proto Man, hitting with that +4 Drain Punch and almost taking out Klefki. So here, if I had a Shadow Sneak, potentially I could go for that. I don't have Shadow Sneak, so I'm actually going to switch out here, though. Rather than, try to kill off this Klefki, I'm going to try to push this advantage even more in my favor now, as he just sets up Reflect. So that's I figured he'd probably just go for Foul Play, which of course would be silly against Chansey. And here's our chance to get up Rocks, and there we go. So able to, take a big chunk out of that Klefki. And now Rocks are up, and I was kind of able to get an added advantage out of that matchup, and I'm pretty pleased with myself at that point. We're not going to stay in here, of course, and take a knockoff. We can't T-Wave this thing, obviously, and I'm not terribly interested in pulling a Seismic Toss. So we're going to switch out here and thinking about what to go into. Suicune is now gone, which would probably be my de facto switch into it. And it's obviously not the play we're going to be making here. And we are, once again, going to go into Gallade. And I guess potentially threaten Ice Punch, although Reflect is up, so I'm not going to expect it to do that much. He just sets up Stealth Rock, so that's kind of nice. Tells me it's most likely not Scarf Landorus, although, of course, we've already had Scarf Spikes, so I'm not going to completely rule it out just yet. But he U-turns, gets a crit, which does some additional damage. And we're just going to land an Ice Punch on whatever wants to come in, which is going to think about what to go into. And it's going to be Cress. So Ice Punch is going to not do very much whatsoever. And we do get Rocky Helmet damage. So now Gallade is down at 27 HP. Is essentially dead to me, but I don't want to use Death Fodder against the Cress, So the objective here, as I mentioned at Team Preview, is we want to get Gothitelle in. Will he double switch? When we brought it against Gubbs, he did do the double switch, predicting Goth. But I figure, I look at the game clock, it's been 25 minutes, or it's been 15 minutes, or yeah, 25 minutes. Maybe he forgot about Gothitelle, or whatever. So we do just take a risk, switch it in, and Gothitelle gets in on Cress. That Cresselia is essentially dead to me. We're just going to taunt right away as he attempts the Combine to check if I have taunt. I, of course, do, and yeah, and we're just going to Toxic, which happens to miss. He Ice Beams, which this could get kind of dangerous if he happens to get a freeze. His taunt's going to be able to wear off, and then he'll be able to Calm Mind while I try to thaw out. But we do get a Toxic this time, so at least now if I do get frozen, it's going to be able to do that. So taunt wears off, but I'm not going to take any risks. I am going to go ahead and refresh the taunt, even though, of course, he makes the right play and continues to go for an attack move. And, I would like to get Gothitelle out of this at full HP by the time Cress dies. So what I should probably do there is go ahead and click Rest, but I don't. I Shadow Ball, get the HP down lower, and now the math is not quite going to work out. I'm going to have to... this thing's going to be dying soon. If I want to get Goth out of this at, full HP, or at least very close to it, I'm going to need to rest. And, meanwhile, Taunt's going to wear off. It's got the potential to Moonlight and all that stuff. But at least Toxic will still be racking up on it. So, rather than just try to finish it off this turn with Moonlight, I believe I do decide to pull a rest and go ahead and get back up to full HP. We do, of course, have leftovers, and Cresselia is not very good on offense, netting about 12 points of damage right there. And now, unfortunately, I've kind of botched my turns of rest. I'm going to burn one turn of sleep here, and then Cress is going to go down. I'm still going to have a turn of sleep, so I've kind of messed up here. But at the same time, Gothitelle did her job, and I'm kind of content to let her go at this point. But I would kind of like to keep her around. She's going to be good enough to sponge probably one of just about any hit with her bulk and maybe land a Toxic on something. So it goes into Greninja. And at the time I'm thinking, Greninja doesn't have Swords Dance or Nasty Plot. It can't really set up on me. I should be alright. So I just stay in. And I kind of forget that, about Substitute, I guess. Makes perfect. That's what he uses in Smash Brothers, right? He actually has Leftovers Greninja with Substitute, which I think is pretty cool. And so right here, I believe I'm clicking Shadow Ball, which he also has Power Up Punch, and now I realize, oh no, I kind of was thinking, Greninja can't set up. Guess what, guys? Greninja has Sub and Power Up Punch and can most definitely set up all over me, and now we're kind of in a really bad spot. Not only that, I can't even break his subs at all. Obviously, Toxic doesn't go through sub, and because of Protean, he transforms into normal type and becomes immune from Shadow Ball. So Gothitelle is pretty much completely walled right here. And for once again, I think we're going to switch in Proto Man, intended just as death fodder. Hurt by Stealth Rock goes down to 17, puts up a sub, and I'm just going to assume he's got something to kill a 27 HP Gallade. We're getting a nice even 10 back from lefties. At this point, I'm going to essentially consider myself dead. Even if I had Shadow Sneak right here, I can't go for it because he's normal type. So I'm just going to go for Drain Punch, and he power up punches and does not kill Gallade. Hanging on with 3 HP and taking some HP off that sub with Drain Punch. And between the Drain Punch recovery and the leftovers, we're actually at decent HP here. So I think, though, at this range, he can most likely go for Power Up Punch and probably kill me and get out of this at +3. However, he instead decides to sub again, and now I'm at even more HP. The sub there, you know, most likely fishing for that Para-Hacks. But he does not get it. Gallade not getting full parried. He got full parried one turn against Klefki. Here comes a Rock Tomb, a little bit more base power, of course, lowering my speed. But hanging on with 8 HP, and Gallade, Proto Man, Holt rides alone, and I switched you in for death fodder, and now you have killed a Greninja that, had you gone down, had Rock Tomb for Zapdos, and is going to outspeed everything, most likely, barring like a Rock Tomb miss, would have swept the rest of the team. So send him in as death fodder, and he just takes the thing out. You know, fairly lucky to not get Para-Hacks on any of those turns there. I believe that's roughly a 25% chance thereabouts to not get full parried any of those turns in a row. But yeah, so he U-turns out with Victini, drops in Klefki, which dies thanks to the spikes and the Stealth Rock. So when I set up Stealth Rock with Chansey, that was also essentially killing Klefki. Might seem a little bit silly, but now it takes away my switch initiative, as now it's just going to be a blind double drop in, as opposed to him dropping in something and then I get my choice of what to bring in off the U-turn KO. So it evens out the priority on the switch initiative right here, and I'm just going to drop in Chansey, as it should be able to endure one of any hit, which is going to come in from Victini. Going to get hurt by the hazards and whatnot, so Victini cannot come in again. And I'm just going to S-Toss here, as I know I can endure a V-Create, and he actually does get a critical hit, but Medichan is able to hang on and take it out with S-Toss, and then from here, he's just got Landorus Therian left, so after Gallade was able to take down Greninja, we're just going to let Medi die here. We still got 4 guys left. I'm just going to sack off Medi, because I know that Icicle Spear from Scarf Cloister is going to be able to come in. We see leftovers, so of course it's not Focus Sash. It doesn't really matter to Icicle Spear anyway. And yeah, I knew I would hang on with 10 HP after the rocks, and that's gonna be it. We're gonna Icicle Spear our way to a 3-0 victory over the Sawsbucks. So yeah, we got some comments on this coming up right now. Alright, so of course, good game mag. You know, Victini came out on the first turn swinging with V-Create, when I'd been used to seeing it get ran as a special attacker or some sort of funky set. And not this week. As soon as I saw that, I was like, alright, gloves are off, Steve is coming at me hardcore, and I better get ready or we're going to have a very rough time. That said, I think this was the best game we have played so far in the GBA in terms of all 3 phases of the game. Preparation, execution, and reaction. You know, I think we did a adequate job identifying, you know, some of the weaknesses of the Sawsbucks, most notably, you know, no spinner, so we decided to bring a lot of hazards in, you know, try to go with that, and also, you know, they tend to bring these same 6 guys, so these are the ones I should probably be most prepared for. You know, I want to be prepared for everything, of course, as I do every week, but be at least more mentally prepared, I guess, to deal with these guys, know what they can do a little bit better, perhaps. As far as the execution of the game plan, it didn't quite materialize, and part of that has to do with, if you noticed, Zapdos did not appear at all. I guess I'll leave it a secret what his set was. I think you guys can probably figure it out. I'll leave that as a mental exercise for the viewers to try to figure out what set Zapdos was running this week, as that I never actually saw the field. It was definitely running through my mind that I might have to use it during the game, but of course I never did. And then just reacting to you know, any hacks or blessings that I get given. You know, I think it's not very many games you're able to win where you don't properly capitalize on someone's misplay or take hacks and run with it. So I think you got to be able to do that. And for the most part, though, I think it was a pretty clean game. Not too much hacks. There was a crit. I missed the Toxic, which was irrelevant. There's a crit U-turn by Landorus on Gallade, and which I guess arguably made up for me not getting para hacks on any of those turns because I had more HP to work with, or what have. Can't necessarily say that for sure, though, as if he still got a little bit more HP, maybe I don't view him as that death fodder. Switch him in. Kind of tough to say, but I'm definitely very pleased with the way it came out. I'm definitely pleased with the 3-0 this week against a very tough opponent. And yeah, I guess we can talk about some of the key plays. Early in the game, the double switch on turn 2, in fact, getting Chansey versus Cobalion. I guess I handled that about as best I could after that situation, and essentially giving Cobalion a free +2. Obviously I could have T-waved, but that was way too big of a risk. I think that would have been a situation where it would have been a bad play, even though if it ended up to be the right play. But yeah, obviously losing Suicune off that, and then the next key play I would say was this one certainly more in my favor. Bolt Strike coming out of Victini the second time it was in instead of V-Create, when I'm pretty sure V-Create at that point will do more damage to everything I have on the team. So I don't know if he just was really not wanting the stat drops. He went with a less accurate move that's also less powerful. So I don't know what was going on with that one. Could have been a misclick for all I know. I don't. But I guess what matters is the ramifications of that move, which it was instead of Gallade being either dead or more likely, I guess, deep into the red, takes under half and proceeds to set up a bulk up, and that results in getting a Klefki down to very low hit points. And then the extra bonus at the end of that exchange, we get Chansey and get Stealth Rock set up, which of course was a very big factor in the game, especially wearing Victini down. And so after that, I think that was a really big momentum shift in the game, for sure in my favor. And after that, of course, there's the big exchange between Gallade and Greninja. I'm probably going to remember that one for a while. If I have to point out one really important turn, I think it was the turn I was at 31 HP. I believe I ran some calcs, and I think had he power-up punched there instead of gone for the sub fishing for the para hacks, I think he likely would have killed me and then been at, I think, +3, probably good to go for the rest of the team. So that was probably the most important turn in that exchange. And on to Pokemon of the Week, and I kind of just went over everything about it. It's obviously gonna be Proto Man. Only going 1-1, only one credited kill, but what a huge impact on this match. Thrice Forsaken. Thrice I forsook him, sent him in his death fodder, and he just refused to die until he was ready to go. Until he at least took down a Greninja, evidently. What a fantastic performance. Yeah, I've got everything listed there. I'm not going to bother to read it off to you, since I kind of went over the majority of it already. Gallade, one of my favorite pokes of all time, and I think he kind of showed why in this game. Looking ahead to next week, which, thank goodness this game got played on a Friday instead of Sunday like the previous two did, so really cut into my prep time for the subsequent games. We got the New York Yankees coming to town, and their coach Shady Penguin. I had not actually heard of him until the GBA started. That's probably what I get for sticking to the Xerxes side of YouTube. And this channel actually just started about like a year ago and has since blown up. And I'm pretty sure he has by far more subs than the rest of the GBA combined. So definitely the biggest fan base we got coming in to our stadium next week. And I know his fans do not really appreciate and take too kindly, at least some of them, to defensive stall matches, so might be in for an interesting time next week. Pretty much all of his stuff is live face cam, which is interesting. I find it kind of interesting because he and I think, on a lot of things have conflicting YouTube philosophies. So should make for an interesting matchup, I think. Don't have his result for this week, so he might be 4-4, he might be 3-5. But you know, he is still a veteran team, even though this year hasn't gone as well as he would have hoped. You know, he did still make the playoffs last year, so he's certainly a great player. And yeah, we're gonna have to definitely try to pick apart his team. I think we can do it, but we'll certainly have to see. Hope you guys will look forward to that one, and yeah, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and yeah, even record, getting back close. Only one in the hole. We're getting back close to a positive differential too. We'll see if we can make that happen with this game next week. Thanks for watching, and later days.